Hello and welcome to Arcade Couch, the best place to chill with friends and get your gaming goodness every Monday. My name's Ciaran Blight. Joining me on the couch this week, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, excited to be here for more games.
Yeah, good job. You fucking smashed that one. Also, here, Ciaran Marchant.
Normally Ash kind of, Ash sets a level so I don't feel like, because we know the history. I'm pretty miss and miss with introductions and opening the show and stuff. Sometimes I'm great. I had that freedom
it's not this one,
a while ago.
Not really any good gaming memes this week, I don't think.
No? No good game memes? I know.
I think so.
I think now that we're all here, it's better now.
It could be better now.
There's a Post Malone reference because I'm about to talk about a Post Malone. Anyway, let's just jump into it. Fuck it.
You didn't sing that though.
Yeah, but still, come on, Ash, come on.
Actually, biggest news of the week. There's like an Australian tradie in Fortnite now, thanks to Laserbeam. It's pretty great.
That's
yeah,
true.
I didn't know if I should include that or not, but yeah, good job, I guess. It's a bit weird having a tradie in Fortnite. Don't know how
he
I feel
eats
about
a meat pie. If you ever want to watch Master Chief eating a meat pie, it's pretty fucking cool.
Wait, you can do that? You can combine the...
Yeah, so the Master Chief
emote?
could do the emote from Laserbeam's bundle. So he sits on Nesky with his meat pie and his sauce, and he's just chomping on it through his helmet.
Okay, so I want to see a compilation of every single
I'm sure someone's
possible
done
skin
it.
in the game.
I'm sure someone's
I
done
want to
it.
see
Eating
Batman
meat
and
pies.
stuff.
I've done it.
Eating meat pie. I want to see Joker eating a meat pie.
Yeah, so because
Wolverine
when they
eating
announced
meat pie.
that, I was like, look, this game's like Super Smash
Chun-Li eating
Brothers.
meat
It's
pie.
got like all these MCU characters, Mandalorian, all these weird characters, and now there's just a tradie that I see literally 100 of a day. I like it's just it's like such a weird thing, but sure. Anyway, all right, first story. I'm going to get this out of the way because just as a reference it. So there was an Elden Ring leak last week, right? That was the one thing the internet kind of caught on fire with last week. Elden Ring, of course, the upcoming game from Software, which we first saw a trailer of like 2-3 years ago, whatever it was at the Game Awards. CGI trailer, nothing exciting trailer. A trailer release. Well, no, someone leaked a trailer. I've seen a screenshot of it, like a thumbnail when I scrolled past the video. It looks like it was recorded on a Nokia 2600. I personally chose not to watch it because from the story I read, the reports are that it was an internal trailer that leaked that wasn't ever meant for public consumption, I guess, of a trailer, but for public eyes, which I think would mean that for anything in it obviously isn't representative of what the game's supposed to be. And I really didn't want to come on here and judge the game on a shitty 2040p leaked trailer, so I was just like, nah, I'm good. I personally don't want to watch that. So
pretty weird to say don't watch a trailer if you've already watched the trailer, so
that would be weird.
That would be weird.
That would be weird for people.
Weird position to take.
That would be weird.
I don't understand the the fandom around Elden Ring. We've seen 10 seconds of footage, 20 seconds of footage 3 years ago. Why are people so desperate and think this is the be all and end all?
I think there's legitimate people excited for this, like legit From Software fans who play all From Software games. I think obviously they're super excited for it. I do think that there's a big part of the internet who just seem to like getting excited for things and joining the bandwagon, if you will.
There's people who don't actually process the information of George R.R. Martin being involved, where for some reason people still connect George R.R. Martin with being a great author and narrative writer, which, I don't.
And having stuff come out.
And having stuff come out in general. Which is a kind of, if it was like a post on social media, have one of those things being like, this contains untrue information or not so correct information. It's like,
blow your mind. I completely forgot he was involved until you just said that.
Yep. No, he is attached to it, which is one of the other driving forces of people being like, oh, this is going to be so cool. The lore is going to be so great. It's like, okay, the lore of Game of Thrones is actually pretty cool, but, just general... everything else about just don't.
I feel like the FromSoft fans are just excited because it's a FromSoft game, though. But I guess there could be maybe a lot more people are excited from the George R.R. Martin standpoint. I don't really know. The other thing I find quite weird is that everyone got so up Cyberpunk's ass, kept telling telling CD Projekt Red to hurry up and release that game. And then when that game came out and it was a buggy mess, everyone was like, well, you fucked up. Why'd you release this game? And then all those people are now watching a 2040p leak trailer going, well, this looks like shit.
Release the game.
Release the game. Like, I don't anyway, so that's why I'm not watching it. I didn't write a news story for the website.
This is why you don't announce stuff till...
No, well, hold on. My 2 cents on that is I don't really have a problem with people announcing stuff. I think people should be allowed to, because the thing is, like, a good example of this is Bethesda with Elder Scrolls. I actually don't mind they release that one thing, as long as if they kept putting out shitty CGI teasers every 6 months and the game was 6 years away, that would have annoyed me. I don't mind the fact that they put out the one teaser, announced it, because that's kind of better than there being constantly leaks and rumors and, you know, like, or there was a leak. It seems Bethesda's working on Elder Scrolls, but we can't confirm it. I like the fact that they came out and said, hey, we're working on this game. It's ages away, and they've just shut the fuck up since then. So I don't mind that they came out and said, hey, we're from Software, we're working on a game with George R.R. Martin. It's called this, and they haven't released anything since. And I would hope, and this is best case scenario, and I don't mind if game developers do this, if you want to release a CGI announcement trailer like 3-4 years before the game's out, no problem. I then think the next time you should talk about that game should be when it's at least within 12 months before the release date, and that's it. So that would be my 2 cents on how you should trailers. Because if you don't announce it, then people are just going to speculate, you know, and all that sort of stuff. So,
but it worked so well for Kingdom Hearts 3.
Well, yeah, that's a bad example. But I mean, everyone thought Death Stranding was going to do the same thing, where it was be like, oh, they keep releasing trailers, but the game's never going to come out. But Death Stranding weirdly was an example of, he put out like the perfect amount of trailers like every couple of months, and then the game just came out and everyone was like,
not a perfect amount of trailers. I disagree with that. They were,
but I mean, the game, he literally only put out trailers for like a year and a half, maybe 2 years. Like, he put out one like every 6 months or whatever.
It felt way longer than that with this.
No, it wasn't.
Kojima bullshit.
It legit wasn't.
It was all part of the game, though.
Yeah.
So
it legit wasn't. Anyway,
and they were all substantial, you know, bits of information.
Anyway, to come back to your question, Ash. In my example,
did I have a question?
No. Yeah, your question was like, don't announce games too early, or, you know, you said don't announce games too early.
That was a statement.
It was a statement. So my question is, would you prefer, as I'm saying, do you think it's okay for, like, From Software to announce a game and then just to shut the fuck up until they're done? Or would you prefer them to never announce it and just put up with people constantly being like, oh, there's rumor, oh, there's rumor, oh, there's rumor, oh, there's rumor?
I don't care either way. Obviously, we had Rockstar not release a game for 5 years, and then obviously there was rumors about what they were working on for ages, and then it was finally turned out it was Suicide Squad. So, I mean, you can't win either way. I think fans should just stop caring so much about stuff that hasn't come out yet.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that. So, yeah.
Well, like, you know, keep your hype levels under control. I mean,
if only.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, I'm keen to see Elden Ring when From Software wants to actually show me Elden Ring, and I'm sure I'll enjoy whatever the official trailer is more than these people, because I haven't watched this, so I'll enjoy whatever it is when it's actually shown. So that's cool. Let's move on. So I just want to shout this out. Of course, a couple weeks ago, I announced that Post Malone was holding this Pokemon concert, and it was all very much like, what's this going to be? I watched it live. It's shy of 15 minutes, whatever it is. It's 13 minutes right here. It was very fucking cool. I quite enjoyed this. Now, obviously, the 2 cents there, this should be obvious by how I was talking about the other week, but obviously I enjoy Post Malone's music, and you're not going to enjoy this if you don't like Post Malone's music, obviously. But just on a visual aspect, I really enjoyed the way they did this, because he comes out on a stage at first, there's these floating Pokemon around and everything like that. I'm like, yeah, this is kind of cool, but then they play into the fact it's animated and they can do what they ever want, and then Posty ends up floating around these different Pokemon environments. Yeah, that's what his friends call him. I know what you're laughing at.
Why are you calling him Posty?
Because he's my mate. I know him, Posty. He floats around all these different environments where you got I'm showing a couple seconds on the video until it gets copyright struck, which I'm sure is about now. But he's floating through, talking to all these Pokemon, singing along. I really quite enjoyed it. So I thought it was cool, and I would suggest that if you maybe you don't have to be a huge Post Malone fan, but if you can stand listening to his music, it's just fine. Like it doesn't grate you or whatever. I thought this was a really cool sort of celebration of Pokemon. And at the end, they talked about how you got that Katy Perry album coming. Someone else, I can't remember. I'd have to look at the story here. But hold on, let me find it real quickly. It was Katy Perry and J Balvin, which I didn't know who it is, but apparently it's a real popular international artist, much like that person who showed up on WWE fucking Royal Rumble, and everyone was like, "Who's this person?" And he looked up
Bad Bunny.
Yeah, and everyone looked, and he looked up his Spotify, and he has like over 1 billion streams or whatever it was. Yeah, so I think it's like a similar scenario. So yeah, they've got a whole album of Pokemon music on the way for 25th anniversary. But yeah, I thought this was kind of cool. Did anyone else end up flicking through any of this or care for it? Or?
I flicked through it. I was impressed with good old Posty and his tolerance for dangerous environments. You're his mate too. So like he was just like in a room that was like filled with lava at one point, and he was just like rapping away like he didn't give a fuck. And then a Charizard like blew fire towards him. I was like, man, you are. You earn my respect with how tough you are, bud. I can see you tough man, not just for tattoos and stuff. No, it looked cool. I liked the overall design and everything of it. I'm a bit hit and miss with his work and with a lot of his music, so maybe not all of it was for me. But it was definitely a spectacle. I thought it'd be one of those cool things for them to have gone to that next level of
put it in Fortnite.
Yeah, like that. No, but that's the thing, right? I think these kind of miss the mark now when you compare them to the experiences that were in Fortnite, with just kind of how amazing those experiences were overall in terms of like people interacting with them and being in them in the moment. And I think this would have been a cool opportunity to do that. I don't know how you would do it in a Pokemon game, but I think it just loses that kind of little bit of amazingness that those Fortnite. It's
the ability to feel like you're actually part of something, not just watching.
Yeah, exactly.
So it would have been a lot cooler if it was in Fortnite. I would agree, because they've proven before that stuff's actually quite exciting because you feel like you're in the moment, or even having it being a VR thing, like a VR.
Yes,
concept.
VR would have been sick. VR would have been awesome. Yeah, I know. Even if it was only they had a normal version, a VR version of it, I think that would like kind of really make an experience out of these videos, not just having it as a video.
And I feel like that's definitely Nintendo being like, we don't have those platforms, so we didn't even think about them. Whereas they would have been really cool if it was like you could watch the YouTube live stream when it dropped, but at the same time you could have checked into the YouTube live stream via your Oculus YouTube app, and it would have been let you then experience it in 3D or something. Would have been really cool. So yeah, that was cool. So I was just checking it out. All right, so keeping on the
but Dylan, why only want to be with you?
What do you mean the Pokemon version?
Yeah, the cover.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Why choose that song?
I don't know. It doesn't really matter. See.
It does, because they've got such a great catalogue of Pokemon songs that they could have used.
Let me spoil something for everyone. Katy Perry songs aren't going to be covers of Pokemon songs either.
What's the point? What is the point?
Because they're never even they're just not going to be. It's just going to be cool Pokemon riffs on music. If you listen to that song, they've got Pokemon music like Pokemon music sort of mixed into it, which adds that Pokemon flavor. But he's not singing like Raichu, Pikachu, Volti.
I was disappointed. I was disappointed there was no Pokemon rap. Like I was like, look, Post Malone seems like the type of guy that would love to do it. Like,
I'm glad he didn't.
Somebody wants to do it.
I know everyone wants someone to do. I know everyone wants someone to do the Pokemon rap, but I think the second someone does, it's just going to be ultra corny. And like, I personally,
who cares?
I do, because look, I need Posty to keep that street cred. You know what I'm saying?
All right, we'll get somebody else. Somebody will sell out.
Justin Bieber.
No.
No? Okay. I thought I'd check. But look, maybe one of these Katy Perry songs could be an actual one. We'll find out. But I'm telling you right now that it's majority just going to be like covers.
Give us at least one. Look, Pokemon.
I'll give you hope for one. I feel like you've got a chance for one, but it's definitely not going to be the entire album. Either way, I'm looking forward to it, to be honest.
I'm going to be so pissed if it's just Firework. He just sings Firework again.
I'm going to be honest. Firework with a Pokemon. Yeah, no, I'll get there.
Is there a Firework Pokemon?
Is there a Firework Pokemon?
At this point.
Yeah, there was a Fork, so there must be, right? I don't know. I missed that generation where they ran out of ideas.
the garbage can Pokemon.
Yeah. So I skipped that generation, but it's probably in there. You're probably right.
Isn't that Sesame Street?
Is that the Cynical generation? I can't remember.
I thought that. The Cynical said it's generation's gold and silver.
Hey, by the way, thank you, Simon, for making that video that we shared on our Twitter. If you want to see it, you can find it. We reposted it, but thank you. I'm glad he found as much joy in that moment as we did. Can shame. let me just. All right, moving on. Upload VR rights. I'm continuing on the Pokemon here. So they write, Pokemon Go HoloLens demo uses Microsoft Mesh for multiplayer battles. Alex Kipman, technical fellow for HoloLens, was joined virtually on stage by Niantic CEO John Hanke, no, it has to be Hank, right? Who entered at a multiplayer battle alongside product marketing manager Veronica Sauron. The video featured a number of different Pokemon hanging out in the real world in a way that went far beyond what's currently possible with a smartphone-based game. This demo was purely proof of concept. Microsoft made it clear this doesn't represent a consumer product at this stage. And you can check out the video, of course. The links to this video will be in the section and stuff. So it's been a while. Obviously, Microsoft is always talking about HoloLens. They've been talking about it for years. It's never really got off the ground other than being a bunch of technology like showing off. But I gotta be honest, like, as silly as HoloLens looks and the idea of like setting up and using it and all that sort of stuff, the idea of playing like Pokemon Go in HoloLens or like any sort of game where you could walk around and experience this augmented reality around you, like Pokemon and stuff like that, I'm fucking all about this. Like, I'm all about this. There's this part of this video, which video viewers you can see on screen at the moment, where, you know, he's like, oh, we're going to have a battle, and he literally holds out his hand and like pulls out a Pokemon, and Pikachu throws a berry to it, and in a second he does this whole corny line where he's like, oh, do you want to have a battle to this other person? And they're about to initiate a battle or whatever. I'm like, fuck yeah. I'm all over this suddenly. I used to give zero fucks for HoloLens because most of the time, every time like Microsoft showed it off, it was like, oh, look at this like war table from Halo we can like put on AR on top of this normal table. I'm like, I don't really care about an AR war table. I don't see how that's exciting, but this is definitely proof of concept for me as to like how HoloLens could be used in fun ways. And also, I found it really interesting that it's a Microsoft working with the Pokemon company, which I was like, okay. Like, I know it's not an actual game that's coming out, I think, but the fact that you even had this sort of proof of concept demo thing that was shown off during this presentation, I thought that was really cool. So, does this technology impress anyone else looking at it? Something that you could see?
For you, talking about it, being excited about it, for me, is like almost screams the same as Mario Kart Live, where I'm like,
well, I mean, it doesn't have to be Pokemon, but you know what I mean? Like, could you not see any scenario where this technology could excite you? Like, imagine if you could run around pretending to be your stupid Overwatch
I could
characters.
see it being exciting. It's just another thing where it's like you would need a lot of people to adopt onto it for it to get full value out of it. Fucking, do you imagine Dylan walking around the streets of Launceston by himself wearing a pair of HoloLenses being like, hey guys, does any of you want to battle? You know, guys, hello? I'll only steal your Lugias if you've got one. Like, it's just, yeah, I feel like it would be a cool niche thing, but at the same time, it would probably be that expensive that it would require... there wouldn't be enough of an adoption rate for it to be as effective and interesting as it could be.
Ash?
Yeah, I can't see this taking off. You know. Yeah. Again, it's another barrier to entry. I don't know. Yeah. Obviously, Google Glass lasted 6 months already.
But Ashley, you could probably make so many different circuits out of your house with it to drive your virtual Mario Kart around.
Man, yous are bad. I got so excited for new technology and new things, and yous are always just like, nah, this is bad.
No,
I'm glad I wasn't friends with yous back when I was getting excited for VR when it was first announced, because you would have been like, nah, Dylan, that shit looks boring as fuck. And I would be like, all right, guys, I guess I'll just buy my PSVR on launch day by myself.
No,
and Kieran would have been like, you would never use it.
When VR was on the horizon, VR is interesting because it's not as gimmicky. It doesn't
VR
seem
was
to be
super gimmicky when it was like,
no, but like at the same time, it seemed like I could see a potential future in VR and the use of VR. Where this kind of stuff, I don't see there being a starting point for it to really get its basis off to become something.
I mean, AR is older than VR, though.
It's easier to show VR than it is this, because you're not viewing it from the point of view of the actual person using the camera's off to the side. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's
They
representing.
don't do like a first person point of view. So really, it's just a cool animation.
Exactly.
It's just like Space Jam.
Well, don't even get me started on Space Jam. Don't even.
I can tell you what, that Pikachu's tits in this AR video were the same size they've always been.
Way different. Like
They're
4
same
pounds.
size. They haven't.
No,
touched Pikachu's
he's much skinnier than he was in the.
Fucking cancel culture again. All right, guys. You know what I'm saying?
Let's not get into that again. But that doesn't. Poor Lola Bunny.
Aliens Fireteam, right? So this was announced last week. Description for the website simply reads: set in an iconic alien universe, Aliens Fireteam is a cooperative third-person survival shooter that drops your fireteam of hardened Marines into a desperate fight to contain the xenomorph threat. The ultimate hunt play a pivotal role in events that occur 23 years after the original Alien trilogy as colonial Marines stationed aboard the USS Endeavour battling terrifying xenomorph threats. So this game is basically it's Left 4 Dead but in third person, 3-player co-op game. You take on waves and waves of xenomorphs. It's ability based, not cover based. Whereas, different characters have defensive and strategic abilities. One has a healing ability. This sort of thing. It looks okay, I guess. Like the hardest thing to judge with these games, and especially like I have up on screen at the moment, IGN, because it's not IGN first for this month. So IGN had up half an hour of gameplay, and I watched through that this morning, and it's just like, okay, well they're running through it looks like typical Alien where they're walking around this ship, and I guess that's a problem where it's just like the environments seem pretty boring and bland. Maybe in a horror movie it works better, but for a game where you're literally fighting hundreds and hundreds of aliens. And that's the other thing that kind of annoys me. Like, Alien's always been a franchise apart from the AVP movies where, aliens are scariest when there's only 1, 2 of them kind of thing. And in this, you're just killing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. So I could see it maybe being fun when you're actually playing it. You're playing it with a team of friends, you're shit talking at the same time, you're having some fun that way. But based solely off the gameplay, I'm like, I don't know. How'd anyone else, Ciaran, how'd you feel about looking at
I want this to be good. Like I could see like this being a really fun co-op experience. Like, one Alien's terrifying, but at the same time, I'd love to be like a dude with a massive machine gun, still like screaming as a horde of them run at me, and just like panic trying to kill them all. It sounds like it just could be a fun co-op experience, as long as it has interesting level design or objectives in it. I don't mind that it could all be on a spaceship. I think there is very much the possibility for that to be very different, considering that with the way the Alien franchise has gone with, what were those movies? The freaking Covenant one or whatever that was
Prometheus?
an Alien movie that... Prometheus, that was it.
Covenant was the title of one of those movies, though. So you were half,
Pog? Look at me
the
go!
last one was
Fucking
called,
nailing it.
it was actually Alien Covenant, but it was basically a sequel to Prometheus, right?
Yes, yeah. And then parts of the game Alien Isolation showed the connection between the original Alien movie and Prometheus. So I think it is. I think there's enough options for them to vary up their kind of.
Well, it's definitely not a horror game, so Ash could play it for a start. It's the only Alien game Ash could actually play.
Definitely.
Yeah, Ash, how do you feel about this? Would you play this?
Probably not. Although, yeah, like you said, it kind of feels like the what's the word?
I don't know what is the word.
Decreasing the power of the xenomorphs. Nerfing the xenomorphs.
Yeah. Well,
that's what they're doing.
There's sometimes there's different kinds of
the...
them. They're like, oh, these ones are jumpers. This like big ones come out brutes that require, they're stronger to take down stuff. But, there's still just thousands of these tiny ones you got to kill.
Which I think makes sense if there's a lot of kind of like crypts of the, well, not crypts, but like where they web up the place and fucking have heaps of
the alien mother has planted a lot of eggs.
Like if the levels are all based on getting to a mother at the end, I think it's fair enough to have different kinds where They're just different at different points of growth in their kind of lifespan and stuff like that. For me, I think that's fine.
I need to see more. I need to see maybe different sorts of the kind of things that, like, is it just play free, finish the game in like a couple hours and then it's done? Like, what keeps me around? So, I just need to see a little bit more to get fully invested in it, I guess. All right, PC Gamer writes, there's a big budget open world Dungeons and Dragons game in development. At the end of 2019, the president of Wizards of the Coast, Chris Cox, said that there were 7 or 8 games based on Dungeons and Dragons in the work. We know about Baldur's Gate 3 and Dark Alliance, of course, and now, thanks to a tweet from Hidden Path Entertainment, we know about one more. The creator of Defense Grid series, as well as co-developer of CSGO and Age of Empires 2 HD, posted a series of job listings saying, quote, we're in development of a AAA third-person open-world fantasy RPG that will be taking place inside the Dungeons & Dragons franchise. This was backed up by its project narrative director, Whitney Beltrain, who has written for games like State of Decay 2 and Beyond Blue. And that's about all we know, but based on all that, Ciaran, how do you feel about the idea of a open-world, big AAA Dungeons & Dragons game?
Give me Dragon Age, but set in fucking the Forgotten Realms. Like, I am in. Like, the Forgotten Realms has really cool fucking lore and deep lore to tap into with different times, with different periods. We've already got Baldur's Gate, where the city of Baldur's Gate is sunk into the Nine Hells. Give us a different kind of era of the Forgotten Realms, where Baldur's Gate is back up and kind of reset the world. Whereas, with the way D&D is built as a game, these realms and locations are built to be set in different, like, kind of versions and having kind of resetting the world each time you're telling a different story. And I think that's fine in games. I'm really excited for it. I love the Dragon Age series. I love high fantasy games with, like, Oblivion and Skyrim. D&D and the Forgotten Realms is a fantastic setting. And the ability for them to add places and locations onto it would be really fun with the kind of options of like Ravenloft and Eberron and stuff like that, which are different kind of realms or different worlds that have completely different kind of environmental feels, which could be really fun in that game.
Yeah, I guess if it's done right, it could be something to put up against Fight at the Elder Scrolls universe as far as fantasy RPGs go, which would be funny because you have the Oblivion one on the way too. So it's like Fight. Yeah. The what's the fuck?
There's enough fantasy to go
There's
around.
enough fantasy to go around. That's my point, yeah. Ash, do you have any thoughts? D&D, AAA?
Yeah, it's cool they're working on something, but yeah, I'll wait and see what they're working on and how they're going to implement it. If it's just going to be, it could, for all we know, it could just be like a hack and slash adventure game inside D&D. So.
Well, I said RPG, so
wait till we get some more information. Yeah, then it could be an action RPG inside.
Yeah, you want like a proper RPG.
You don't
want Kingdoms of Marvel. You don't want Kingdoms of Marvel. That's what you're saying. You never played it, so you don't know. Fresh Start writes, Epic Games has purchased Fall Guys creator Tonic Games, and now Fall Guys Aussie tradie skin needs to happen. Epic Games has announced that it is bolstering its stable with Tonic Games Group, the developer behind one of the most successful games of 2020, Fall Guys. Despite the acquisition, the game will remain on Steam for the foreseeable future, with Nintendo Switch and Xbox One launches coming in the near future. The blog post also mentioned that there's a number of features that they'd love to bring over from Rocket League and Fortnite, such as crossplay and account systems. Mediatonic said that they had nothing to say in regards to the game going free to play, but I bet this will be the model going forward, following in the footsteps of Epic Games' most successful franchises, Fortnite and Rocket League. Fortnite has partnered with almost every IP across the world, with everything from Marvel to Star Wars, featuring just yesterday got announced that an Aussie tradie skin would be coming to the game. Blah, 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 blah. So, Ciaran, I'm going to pass this one to you straight away because you keep saying Fall Guys is a dead game. Why would Epic Games purchase a dead game?
Because it has shown... Well, no, they haven't purchased the dead game. They've purchased the creator.
Yeah, but they've only got one game, so...
But in that one game, they showed a lot of potential.
So,
like, Fall Guys
you're saying they
start.
purchased them not for Fall Guys, but for them to make another game?
I think so, yeah.
That's some hot take shit.
No, but I think the thing is, right, when I say Fall Guys is dead, again, Fall Guys is not dead because of its own problems. It's just was like because of the kind of perfect storm that came about with Among Us and Twitch and everything like that. Among Us petered off and is not as prominent as it previously was. It's still a big game. It's still large. Sure, buying the creator and buying it is a good idea. but I think Epic is investing in that studio in terms of future products, not only just buying it for Fall Guys.
Ash?
Is this what I sound like when I'm trying to stretch a really weak point?
Yes, it is. This is you every time you talk about Game Pass.
No. Yeah, it's good that Mediatonic is obviously getting the backing of Epic Games, and hopefully with all the Epic's media contacts, it could see more weird and wacky skins inside the game. I definitely think the game has legs, and as soon as it launches on new platforms, that's going to be such a big boost to the player base. And they've got so much content coming out all the time. So much content, like more content than Overwatch has put out in the last 3 years. That's for sure.
I don't know about that one, good buddy. I think you can fuck off with that one. You know what? If you had said more content than Overwatch in the last year, I wouldn't have been able to say shit. I probably would have agreed with you. But you said 3 years, which is like you can fuck right off with that point. At Game
Longer
Pass,
than the
actually.
life cycle of Fall Guys. I think you missed your chance to shoot it. You should have stuck with 1 year, and you would have owned it.
If you had just said 1 year, I would have been
Stick to my
like,
guns.
you know what, Ashley, fair
5
play.
years.
You got me there. If you got me there, Ashley, fine. But fucking hell.
More content than Overwatch in the last 10 years, before Overwatch was even out. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
What? How many maps did they put out?
How many maps has Fall Guys put out?
Overwatch put out, yeah.
I don't know.
Overwatch has probably added maybe 6 maps since launch.
I like how on the Explosion Network
There's so many more Fall Guys
how
levels
big
added
competition
since
is
launch.
Fall Guys versus Overwatch of all games to have. As
I'm telling you,
deadly
Fall Guy
competition.
would take out what's her name?
Zombra. That's her name, right? Zambra?
Sombra is a character.
I got to ask close.
Yeah. Let's see it. Fall Guy versus Winston. Fight. Let's see
Hey,
who
that's the
wins.
monkey one, right?
Yeah.
I know these characters, man. Tracer.
That's the
She's
one
a
I was thinking
lesbian.
of,
That's
that
why I
couldn't
like
think
her, apparently.
You know what, we should now we're into. Sorry, so they have added. So they have.
Kira's
added
Googling this now.
nine maps. There's been 9 maps added since.
Okay, what about in the last 3 years?
All of them.
Most of them.
Yeah, most of them would have been released in the last 3
years.
years. So.
I don't know.
Overwatch has only been out for what, 4 or 5
Yeah,
years?
4 or 5 years.
Tops?
Yeah.
Like
It won Game of the Year at the first Game Awards, which is like 5 years old, I think. So, yeah.
It feels longer.
Yeah. It's been a while. Anyway, my 2 cents on this, I'm definitely leaning more towards Ash's line of thinking. I definitely think Kern's full shit, but I think they're purchasing. I think them purchasing them is good. I think they, with Epic behind them, they can kind of plug up the holes that game has and make it better and improve upon it and kind of make it what it can be with the right money and big power behind it. And I guess
reduce some of those server issues.
yeah, which we were having when even the other night when we were trying to stream it still. So it's like I definitely feel this is a good thing. I feel like the game just shot straight to stardom, and they simply didn't have the team or the capabilities to kind of keep up with.
Although, will they buy Fall Guys because it was published by Devolver?
Yeah, I don't think Devolver owned it though. I don't think Devolver.
Okay.
I don't think Devolver actually. I think Devolver being Devolver, they would never. Like if Devolver kept the rights to any
Devolver,
games they published, that would be like against their whole like fuck
Yeah,
the system kind of mantra.
So we're assuming no. So Epic wouldn't like put a title card into Fall Guys when it launches up.
Maybe if
I
they
think they
maybe
would.
down the line.
I think so.
Yeah, possibly.
Maybe.
With both of your logic, I think they have to put in a card.
Not straight away. I think maybe if it could possibly happen down the line. Yeah, we shall see. Obviously, nothing major is going to happen straight away, but it'll be good to see, with the backing, what kind of content they can do now and all that infrastructure. And again, it's just like being under the umbrella. You can get advice and help from other Epic teams.
You can get all these crazy skins.
Yeah, exactly.
You can get little Kratos Fall Guy.
I think the fact that basically Epic.
Wait, so now that Epic has purchased it, it can now get a Kratos skin, not for the entire period that it was like
On PlayStation
exclusive to PlayStation.
I mean, it was never exclusive. It launched
Yeah.
on PC at the same time.
It wasn't. Yeah.
It did launch on PC, sorry, but console exclusive.
I've only got one game to talk about that I've been playing this week, unless anyone else wants to spring something on me that they've been playing and they want to talk about. I streamed the other day. I streamed about 90 minutes of this game called Kicking Heads. Oh, no, sorry, I was reading the title of my article. It's called Fights in Tight Spaces. Anyway, in my article, I posted up an article linked to my video because I cut out the video from the stream. Anyway, it's called Fights in Tight Spaces. We talked about it at some stage last year. One of those 1,000,001 indie events that happened last year. It's pretty cool. It's quite involved, a lot more involved than I originally actually thought it was going to be completely honest. But the core concept for the game is it is a card. Yeah, the ones that Ciaran complains about all the time. But it is a card game thing. What do they call these actual genres? Card roguelike, whatever they call them.
Yeah, I think so.
Something along those lines. Where you basically you start in a room. They're all small rooms, obviously, given the name of the game. And you have different sorts of decks you can unlock throughout the game. And you basically have mana cost or a mana equivalent to which the amount of cards that you can play each turn. Each card has a cost, and sometimes they have extra costs, like you need a certain combo meter or you need to be a certain amount of spaces away or close to enemies to be able to initiate the either the attacks, the blocks, to use the counter cards. And then you've got to also take into account what your enemies are doing. And a lot of what the enemies are doing reminded me a lot of John Wick Hex, which was a Bithell game that I reviewed last year, I think it was. Yeah, a year ago. In that it has a whole system where, like, so enemies in the room, you can kind of see which ones will be attacking who and what's going to be happening, and their actions always take place so that you can look at the game and you can actually force enemies to hit each other or attack one another. So if you see someone's going to shoot in a certain direction and you can manage to throw an enemy into the line where the enemy is about to fire a bullet, you can actually set it up so they'll shoot one another or hit one another or these sorts of things. So there's definitely a lot of. I think if you look at a screenshot, you could be like, "How's this so complicated?" But then once you actually get into it, and you have to start taking into account what each enemy in the room could be doing, the amount of health and action moves, and like, do you want to block? Do you want to counter? Do you want to use a card that lets you just run away and kind of take a move to think about it? I literally lost the game because I made one very simple mistake at one point. I moved my character in the wrong direction, and there's no way to undo that move, and it completely fucked me, and I died because of that. So I was like, wow, it's a hard lesson to learn, but here we are. And it is quite hard. I got 2 runs up to the exact same position. I died in the time that I was streaming. And I guess the other thing I didn't know going into the game that makes it quite hard is it does have that roguelite element where that I think there's 5 levels or 5 worlds or whatever you want to call it in the game, and each one has a run. So it's like you go this level, this level, this level. And the thing I didn't realize at first that you got to take into account is that any health you lose, you don't regain your health before you go to the next level. Like, your health always stays down. So you got to think about that. However, periodically throughout the run, you can choose between things. It'll be like, do you want to go to this hospital and regain health along your run, or do you want to stop and go to this gym, and you can use the gym to use the money you've gained on that run to upgrade cards, buy new cards to put into your deck for that run, and this sort of stuff. It is in early access. This is an early access release, so of course there's going to be changes and stuff like that made before the full release, but it's pretty well put together as far as early releases go for the time I've put into it so far, and I was definitely enjoying it. I was just like, fuck, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be at first, to be completely honest. My one big criticism I'll say, though, is I think it's the environments, because it's got this whole, whatever you want to call it, like the stylize of it is, it's everything's very bland apart from yourself and the characters in the room. And I think that would just make the game very, very boring after a certain amount of hours, like looking at that very minimalist, nothing design of the game. It's kind of cool at first, but I'm like, this just, especially when, even on my second run, I'm like, okay, I'm just entering the exact same bar. The bar hasn't changed, there's nothing to keep it sort of fresh. Whereas if you think about Hades, another roguelike we played last year, it's like you would enter the the world, and there's certain things about the biomes within Hades that make the biomes seem the same, but they would always sort of change, and the enemy positions would change. Yeah, it's like the art style stays the same or whatever, but there's always things to keep it fresh and exciting each run.
I had the stream on my second stream while I was doing something else throughout the night. And every time I looked over, it did not seem like you were either getting much progression or you seemed like you were in like kind of the same area for most of it, where I was like, I don't think you had changed. Right. You had changed levels at some points, but even then I was like, this game just feels a bit bland, kind of in terms of its environments, which it would be because it's all wide.
Yeah,
but
it definitely. Yeah, that is my major criticism. Ash was he was watching the stream too. Ash, so how do you feel?
Yeah, I was watching it. It looked interesting. I would like to I definitely put it on like my Steam wish list.
You downloaded the prologue, you said, so whatever that is.
I've downloaded the prologue. I still haven't played it, but it looks interesting and the game mechanics look interesting. I can kind of forgive the look because obviously that was one run of missions. That's one mission line where there was several other ones either locked or still to come. So there could be still more, but it looks like a very challenging roguelite kind of card building game in the vein of Slay of Spire. So I'd be keen to check it out down the line.
It's definitely a lot more challenging. I was like, fuck, I don't know if this is a great game to be streaming because I'm like trying to stream, but then I'll be sitting there and then I'm getting into like almost any sort of card game mode where I'm like, okay, so if I play this card over here, then this person probably attacks this person. I do this, or maybe I should play this other card because if I do that, I could, it's just
the amount of joy you would get from the enemies taking each other out. It
was quite fun. Well, there was that one great time where I was completely overthinking it, like which happens sometimes with these sorts of games. Completely overthinking it. Then I suddenly clicked. I was like, wow, no, I simply need to move behind this person. I can then kick them, and then I kick them into 3 other enemies, and they all fucking shot one another and hit each other. I was like, this is great. I was like, and that's what I guess that's the big plus of the game. Like any of these sorts of, or like a puzzle game or anything, when you do something like that and it clicks and you do something smart and you get to see enemies all fall into your plan or something like that, that was definitely the highlights of the game for sure. So, as I said, it is early access, so we'll see what happens as the game goes forward. It literally only just entered early access, so it's fun. I would like to return more to it. I'll play some more of it, see how I go. I'd like to at least beat that first run.
Once again, it seems like one of those games that is ideal for the Switch. It just kind of to play in handheld or on the phone or something, in a more handheld setting just rather than
bigger text.
It's
but it may come to other platforms once it's out of early access and gets a full release. Possibly, I could see, but I don't know how long they plan to be in early access. Maybe a year. I don't know. Usually early access games last a year. Don't know these days. All right, main topic of the week. Nintendo Switch Pro, or whatever the hell we're calling it, is back in the news cycle because Bloomberg read an article titled Nintendo plans Switch model with bigger Samsung OLED display. And they write, Nintendo Co. plans to unveil a model of its Switch gaming console equipped with a bigger Samsung OLED display this year, hoping the larger touchscreen can prop up more demand in time for the holidays. People familiar with the plan said Samsung Display Co. will start mass production of a 7-inch 720p resolution OLED panels as early as June, with the initial monthly target of just under 1 million units, said the people who asked not to be identified, discussing internal matters. The displays are slated for shipment to assemblers around July, the people said. Representatives with Nintendo and Samsung Display declined to comment. Nintendo seeks to sustain a Switch lineup that continues to swell well against Xbox and PlayStation thanks to a pandemic-era breakout hits like Animal Crossing and a chip crunch that's plagued supply of rival devices. But the gadget is now into its 5th year, while Microsoft Corp and Sony Corp both have new and more powerful machines in the market. The gaming community has speculated online about the introduction of an OLED or organic light-emitting diode screen, but Nintendo has stayed mum, and President Shintaro Furukawa said in February his company has no plans to announce a new Switch anytime soon. Samsung's involvement is the strongest indication that Nintendo is serious about updating the console and on a larger scale. There was also a follow-up to this by a lot of people tweeting, including like Jeff Grubb and Jason Schreier and a lot of other people reporting that this will be part of a new model that will indeed have, as rumored, the 4K Switch, as we've heard about for a long time. So the rumor is it'll be 4K docked, and the handheld updated console will be that 720 OLED display. Is what seems to be the rumor. Why are you laughing, Ciaran? What are you?
Sorry, I think I'm jaded by. Was it the Wii U that came out and it could finally do HD? And it was like, yes. Fuck is going on here?
The Wii was not HD. Yes.
Yeah, it was like they're like, yeah, we can now do HD, and everybody else was like, oh, okay, sure. And it wasn't even like full 1080p or something. It was. I would fucking love that. That'd be so sweet. I would like if that is true. I think it'd be really cool. I have my doubts in terms of Nintendo's hardware capabilities to be able to do such a thing. Like that sounds like which is amazing, right? Because Nintendo's a Japanese company, and Japan in general has such fantastic kind of hardware improvements and technology in general as a country, but Nintendo just always seems to be lagging behind in everything they do in terms of hardware. In terms of just straight kind of graphical output and power for a console.
I mean, my one quick counter to that is I think the sales of the Switch and sales of games like Animal Crossing prove that graphics don't always.
No. But that's the thing. That's the thing is that. That's the thing is kind of the point of that is that Nintendo have never needed to worry about that.
No.
Nintendo have never kind of needed to worry about those games doing that. My thing is, how many games are going to take advantage that are either currently on the Nintendo Switch or future or like in the near future of a Nintendo Switch are going to take advantage of having 4K graphics? I don't think there's going to be enough. Like, whereas I see so many other, like, kind of where we've had with the new consoles, we've had so many third-party developers and people kind of jump on and improve and provide updates for their games to make them better in most situations, make them better on the new consoles. I don't see people doing that on like the Switch. Like, I'd love a new Switch to come out and it retroactively fix a bunch of games that run terribly on that console. But I just think Nintendo understand that they just need to worry about what suits their own needs. And they don't strive to do anything more than that, really, when it comes to console hardware. Whatever suits Nintendo and their kind of their first parties and what they're doing with their console, yeah, they're trying to work more with third parties, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, this is the kind of the parameters that you're working in, third parties. Sorry. Well, like, it's just, yeah, Nintendo's always played with their own ball on their own court. They never really seem to care about anything else happening external to them.
Ash?
I'll believe it when I see it.
You don't believe
I feel like we talk about
the hard reports of Bloomberg?
No, I feel like we've had Switch Pro reports like every 3 months the last year and a half. Of getting 4K and bigger screen and more powerful processing and all this. And, you know, maybe this is the year to actually put it out. Obviously, a year after the next-gen consoles have come out.
Current-gen consoles.
Current, whatever you want to call them. It's all very confusing. You know, it might be the time, what, it would be 3+ years since the original
The Switch is 4 years old. It turned 4 the other day.
4 years old? So, yeah. I mean, now is probably the best time. It would make sense in the Nintendo process for it to be now. But yeah, I don't think 4K seems like a bit of a stretch. And again, like Ciaran said, nothing in their catalog is really going to utilize it unless they're going to go more heavy on this streaming of games onto Switch. But even that, you wouldn't expect 4K graphics.
Streaming games onto Switch? God, Nintendo's infrastructure would be terrible. Like, oh, gross. No.
Maybe that's why they're helping out Microsoft so much, you know?
So Microsoft, you know what? I've always said in the past that like Sony and Nintendo should just be like, "Hey, Microsoft, we'll just like chuck you a bunch of money. Just do our infrastructure for us, please." In the background.
No, I don't want that. No, I don't want that.
Only their infrastructure. I mean, what it's running on, not the actual systems.
Well, they're all chasing Google's infrastructure apparently. So, to a degree, their cloud or the Amazon one. So, I believe this is legit. I think this is exactly what's happening because there was enough smoke last year, and all of that smoke was rumors. There was never any like solid reporting. It was all just a lot of rumors we talked about last year. You know, like could this be a thing? Could this be a thing? This is the first official reporting of someone saying I have a source at a place, and the website writing about it is a legit tech website, Bloomberg. So I am choosing to believe this because I trust the writing here, and I trust if there's enough smoke, there probably is a fucking fire over there. So I'm going to say this is what's happening. A lot of the points add up too. Like they're saying, whenever they said production begins June, July, whatever they said, that's exactly when PlayStation and Xbox began their production of their consoles to ship by holiday last year. So like all of the dates and everything kind of add up there. And also, I actually think the idea of it's a 4K docked, it's the 720 OLED screen. That sounds exactly like an actual reasonable upgrade for the console, not going too crazy. Like everyone, you know, the ridiculous ones we were hearing last year was like 4K handheld, all this sort of absolute gibberish.
Fuck no.
Yeah.
That would imagine that I would be worried about the handheld blowing up in my hands if it was doing 4K
Catching
while
fire.
in handheld mode. That'd be
all these
that'd be
kids with finger burns.
Hey, Nintendo, where did you get like the processors and the batteries for these new models? Samsung was throwing out like a heap of them for some reason. We just dove into their bins out the back of their factories and just pulled them out for free.
Well, yeah.
Right.
So, Jeff Grubb actually did a good Twitter thread about why 720 handheld is perfectly fine, and basically said that with the screen being that size as it is and being that close to your face, the difference between 720p and 1080p in a handheld like that is not really noticeable and makes a little difference. And he pointed out how it's actually smarter to go for a better quality screen like an OLED that's going to produce better colors and saturation and blacks and whites and all this sort of stuff, like the overall picture quality, than going for a better resolution, and how that's actually a smarter thing to go for with the handheld. And pointed out like how most people's phones, like iPhones or whatever, are 4K screens or whatever, but it's like they probably don't even need to be. Like it's more about the quality of the actual phone screen. Like, you know, having HDR and all this sort of stuff's kind of nice, I guess, at the same time, but you don't actually need like a 4K resolution on a tiny screen.
Nintendo just ray tracing the shit out of everything. That'd be amazing.
Well, we'll see.
That'd be so cool.
So I think all the handheld stuff makes sense. I think the 4K docked is much similar to how PlayStation have said, you know, and PlayStation and Xbox are like, oh, this shit does 8K. It's like, well, okay, maybe it does, but it'll run at 2 frames a second. So I think them going, it does 4K docked means that's sort of the new roof, and barely anything would ever hit that. But it would.
I'd love to see the I'd love to see the technology behind that, because at the minute the dock is not that much in terms of hardware. Like it's literally just kind of a giant USB port and stand
to a degree,
really, for the Switch. Like it doesn't really have that much technology other than having like the dongle of the Ethernet, the extra USBs, and the HDMI port. I would be interested to see if this, like the newer dock with it, would then, what is the technology behind that dock? Because jumping from 720p in handheld to 4K in docked is a fucking big jump.
I mean, it does 1080 docked currently, so it's not like it's going 720.
Yeah, but even 1080 to 4K is a big jump. Like honestly, like 1080 to kind of like straight 1080 to 4K is a massive leap still.
Yeah, which is why I'm saying I don't think it's actually ever going to hit 4K. And if I was to say, so I could see Mario, like I could see potentially first party games hitting close to 4K, or maybe even 4K depending on the game. Maybe if it's a smaller scale Mario Party or something, maybe they can hit 4K or something like that at 30 frames per second. I think it's more likely that you'll see the next Mario game or something like that hitting whatever, you know, like 1200p or something. You know, like it's pushing above 1080p and it's running at 60 frames per second. But they're just going to say it's 4K because they can technically say it does hit that, maybe, depending on the game. I think that also doing that will help alleviate a lot of the issues that a lot of games like these Bethesda games, like your Wolfensteins and stuff, they've published on the Switch, which have a lot of frame rate issues and just don't look particularly great. I think that upgrading the dock to say it does 4K would mean that those games could potentially just run at 1080 60 or something maybe now. Like maybe that's the, you know, like the increase in power would allow them to run those games better, but they're not even trying for 4K. It's just like, well, that's just, but saying it's 4K is the easiest way to kind of sell it. You know, it's like a consumer buzzword, you know, like it plays Netflix in 4K. Good. Like maybe that's the extent of the 4K for the thing. I think the other thing I wanted to touch on though, because I've seen this be like a vocal point for people discussing it online, the rumor for a while, or since this all started a couple of days ago, was the whole like, oh, would this be a new console in the vein, in a way that would push out and lock certain games to only being playing on this? And I'm of the mind to say no. I don't think this would lock out any games. I just think it would improve games that have already released for it to play slightly better. And I think it could potentially mean things like Breath of the Wild 2 will play slightly better, look slightly better on the new console, but you'll still be able to play them on the old console. I think the key reason I would say that is because the one time that Nintendo has released an upgraded handheld, because the whole upgraded model has always been their handheld thing. You know, they've never done it with consoles. They never did like the Wii U never got a Model 2, the Wii never got a Model 2, but their handhelds always get several models. And because the Switch is a hybrid, it's like, this isn't that weird of a thing to talk about because they always do multiple handhelds, so and upgraded ones. And the one time they did an upgraded handheld that locked off things was the new 3DS with the which could certain games could only be played on that, and they couldn't
because they had extra buttons and stuff.
Yeah, it had the whole thing, and it had a little bit extra power. Apparently, so it was like between the extra analog and the extra power, there was games. I think I can't even remember what they was because I didn't even have one. But I think one of them may have been like Xenoblade or some shit like that. You couldn't play off, and that thing
sounds right.
That thing didn't do very well. I think understandably because a lot of people were like, "Well, there's only like one game for this. Why would I need to upgrade?" I don't really care for it. And I think it kind of proved to be a bad consumer move. So I don't think they would do that. I think no one should be too scared. That I think this is much like, I think this would prove this. And if Nintendo's looking at the success Xbox and PlayStation had with their upgrades, their upgrades also were ones that would make sense, you know. So PlayStation did the PlayStation 4 Pro, Xbox did the Xbox One X, or even the One S. Both of those were upgrades on the original, and both of those did well because people who wanted the extra power and who wanted the games to look a little bit better, wanted extra frames that they could get on these sorts of things. People were happy to pay for those, like myself. Ciaran Ash was like happy to stick with his base PlayStation. He did that through to the end of the thing, but he never missed out on any games that the rest was playing. So I think if Nintendo does that and sticks to that same idea, I think that this new Nintendo Switch or whatever they call it could be successful, and I would happily buy one. So
we are at the point with technology where we should be beyond the point of cutting things off with advancing technology. Yes, it took, we probably should have been beyond that point in the last console generation before kind of the PlayStation 4 and Xbox Ones came out originally. I'm always worried about Nintendo being so far behind the 8 ball in terms of kind of coming to the party for these types of things. With the Switch, I don't see them doing that though. Like I do see them being fine with it. I'm just interested to see, first, what's the timed window going to be, guys? Like, is it going to be 6 months to buy the console and then you never can buy the console ever again? Like, Nintendo nowadays, they're just all timed exclusive bullshit.
Yeah, it's a different color scheme each 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you want
exclusive color scheme.
Also, by the way, just a really minor point, and I don't think we probably brought this up during the Zelda thing last week or week before, whenever that was, Nintendo Direct. I'm super tempted, even though I don't use my Switch that much, I'm super tempted to buy new Joy-Cons because of the Zelda Joy-Cons.
I did bring it up because I said I pre-ordered Joy-Cons.
Oh, really? Okay, I ignored you. Anyway.
Shocker.
Fucking hell.
But no, I think there is hope for Nintendo, but I advise people to possibly be pessimistic as fuck as well, just to save a little bit of disappointment from that.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. It's like don't take the word as gospel. I definitely think the 4K docked part is the more rumorish part of this story. I think that's the more like sort of dreamy thing. I think that if Nintendo tomorrow was like, we're releasing an OLED 720p updated screen, it's slightly bigger. It'd be like, okay, so you've just done the opposite of like the Switch Lite. You've released another version with a slightly better screen for people who care. It'd be like, okay, that part makes sense, I guess. You know, like that's not going to affect the overall. People who love playing that in handheld and want the bigger screen and the better quality, I guess they'll go hand for that. You know, like, but it's definitely the 4K docked part where people start going like, what does this mean? Like, is this even possible? What'll happen? I will say one thing. I really hope that I would definitely be more inclined to play handheld a lot of games if it has an OLED screen, because I'll tell you what, as someone who had an original Vita with the OLED screen, that is how all handheld game consoles should have OLED screens. That is the creme de la creme, or whatever they call it, of screen quality.
Interested at the
creme de la creme.
Thank you. That's the one.
I'm interested in the potential price point for it, because OLED screens can be a little scary sometimes when adding to the price.
I think they're a lot cheaper these days. I mean, they're more expensive, obviously, than LCDs, but they're more expensive. But again, if they come out and much like the Pro and the One X and stuff, if they target this as the premium model quality of the Switch for the people who want the premium Switch, they can afford to chuck an extra bit of change on it. Nothing too crazy, obviously. I think there's a line, but I think if that's the way they market it, I'll be down for it. I'll definitely buy one if this thing. I would say. So as for like, you know, it's funny because you bring up the will you be able to get one kind of thing. I think if they're as the article says, they're beginning mass production in June. So goes the report in Bloomberg. I think depending on how much COVID affects their production, because obviously production was heavily affected for the PlayStation and Xbox due to COVID, depending on what parts they're using and how easy it is for them, because obviously they're using a lot different parts than Xbox and PlayStation were chasing for theirs. I think the release date highly depends on how much they can produce, because I think if they can make enough, you could see this release in time for Christmas. And if they can't, then I could see them pushing it and releasing it like March next year or something like that. You know, because don't forget the original Switch released in a really weird time slot. March, April, May, or whatever that was, like really weird console release cycle. So, yeah, I'm locked. This is the thing. This is happening. You'll see this release within the next 12 months, easily, or less than. That's my locking. Ash is going to say what? No, not happening.
It'll come out when Bayonetta 3 comes out.
Well, I hope you're right, because I think it's coming out. So you're now telling me that Bayonetta 3 is launching with the
You've given him hope,
Nintendo
Ashley. You fucked
Switch
it.
Pro.
You have. Why you got to fuck me like this, Ashley?
You know, I was going through my Nintendo Switch games. I was like, man, I should boot up some Bayonetta 3, Bayonetta 2, eh? Let's get into that bad boy.
You wish you could boot up Bayonetta 3.
I fucking do.
They're too busy working on Babylon or whatever the game was.
Ciaran, what are you saying?
I'm actually with you. I think they will release in the next 12 months. I think it would be only beneficial for them to kind of continue to push it. Man, the dream would be that they actually do find a way of technology to kind of close the gap between their console and the even closing the gap between the last gen consoles and the Switch. Like it's like it'd be nice for Nintendo to do such a thing, to kind of enable both developers more that aren't just Nintendo developers to make games work well on their consoles. But you know, I think it's something to keep an eye out for. And if it does come out, I think it's gonna kill over Christmas this year. If it was to come out, even if the supply and demand hasn't picked up for the PlayStation and Xbox.
I definitely feel like it has to come out before, if not with Pokemon Legends Arceus. Because as cool as that game looked in that trailer, there was still a bit of oof. The resolution of those things, the distance, the frame rate, it looked a bit rough.
Look at where you'd look at like the environment and stuff, and then there would be like 3 Pokemon placed in the environment.
Yeah.
And you're like,
because that's the most they could probably.
like,
Yeah, it's
you-
like, and Sword and Shield had the same problem where like Pokemon would spawn in within that very small vicinity because the hardware couldn't handle like spawning too many off in a distance or anything like that. So I definitely feel like they could use it, not just for playing hardcore Bethesda games or whatever, Call of Duty or some shit, but their own games kind of need a slight increase in power. Yeah. And again, it's like, well, Pokemon, if people want to keep their base Switch, they can play Arceus with the smaller Pokemon on screen. You can buy a Pro Switch or whatever it's called, and you can get more Pokemon on screen or something like that. So we shall see. I would highly expect us not to hear anything about this for months and months and months, if it's real. Because the Switch was announced and then released, like, you know, in a very short cycle. So I would expect a similar thing to happen with it. They're like, new Nintendo Switch Pro is a thing. It's out in like 3 months. Cool. You pre-order it. Cool. All right, that'll do it for this week's episode of Arcade Couch. Let us know your thoughts on a Nintendo Switch Pro, new Nintendo Switch, whatever they want to do it. Let us know if you think it's real, it's fake. If you'd buy one. Do all that by heading to our Discord, explosionhour.com/Discord, or you can tweet at us. You can find all our Twitters at explosionhour.com/Twitter. And if you like this episode, you enjoyed it, and you'd like to help support the show, head to our Ko-fi page at explosionhour.com/support, and you can support us for as little as $1. And until next week, same time, same couch. Enjoy it all. I won't be here, so it'll be these two crazy kids. Have fun.
oh, it's going to be one of those episodes.
It's going to be one of those
isn't it?
episodes. It's going to be one of those
Yeah.
episodes where I'm downloading and I'm listening and I'm just like, oh, God.
20 minutes of Dylan shit talk.
It usually is. Every time I click play on a podcast where I'm out, it's just usually Ciaran going, oh, some fucking joke about Dylan's not here. Fucking. So enjoy that. Bye-bye. Look forward to me coming back the week.
The next episode's gonna like kick off with a very solemn announcement about how the plane went down. and,
Oh, Bluey the Blue
Dylan
Point
Whoa,
Pen
that's
attacked Dylan.
That's dark even for me.
Hey, don't forget you can subscribe to the show wherever you're currently listening, and you can drop a review if you can. Find more great shows like this and more content over at explosionnetwork.com, and please consider supporting us for as little as $1 over on our Ko-fi page by heading to explosionnetwork.com/support. Thanks for listening.